Bubo gripped the ancient oak branch, his talons sinking into the rough wood. From his vantage point, the forest floor was a tapestry of motion. Below, rabbits darted through the tall grass in tight, playful clusters, while deer moved in silent, synchronized families. Bubo shifted his weight, his wings tucked tight against his sides. He watched a pair of squirrels huddled together for warmth, their tails intertwined in the dim light. He wanted to be part of that rhythm. He leaned forward, his amber eyes narrowing, and let out a low, mournful hoot that dissolved into the night air. He waited. He tilted his head, listening for a reply, a rustle, or even a chirp. Nothing. The forest continued its nocturnal pulse, indifferent to his presence. He had spent seasons trying to bridge the gap between his world and theirs, but his attempts always ended in the same heavy silence. He would call out, "Woo-hoo, wants to talk," but the only response was the rhythmic, distant snoring of the forest inhabitants. He pulled his head back, his gaze lingering on the empty space between his branch and the ground. He was a spectator in a world he desperately wanted to call home. One Tuesday, the air turned crisp. Bubo puffed out his chest, his talons gripping the branch with newfound resolve. "Tonight I will find a friend," he declared to the moon. He took flight, his wings cutting through the cool air with barely a sound. He spotted a rabbit near a patch of clover and descended in a graceful arc. He landed a few feet away, head tilted. "Hello?" "Woohoo," he began, but the rabbit shrieked, "Ah! Flying eyes!" and vanished into a burrow in a blur of fur and dust. Bubo landed on a nearby stump, his wings drooping. He did not give up. He spotted a deer grazing by the stream and glided down, landing softly on the grass. "I am Bubo, and I was wondering if..." Before he could finish, the deer froze. Its ears twitched violently, rotating toward him. It backed away into the shadows, hooves clicking against stone, as if Bubo were a predator from a nightmare. The deer bolted, crashing through the brush. Bubo remained on the stump, his head hanging low. He retreated to his tree, the weight of his isolation pressing down on him. Bubo sat on his highest branch, staring at the dark canopy. He did not move. He did not hoot. He simply watched the forest breathe, feeling like a ghost in his own home. The silence of the night was absolute, a heavy blanket that muffled the world below. Then, the air split. A sharp, violent crack echoed through the trees, followed by the sound of wood grinding against wood. It was not the wind. It was a heavy, ancient branch, long dead, finally giving way, under its own weight. Bubo stood up, his talons scraping the bark as he leaned forward. Below, the forest floor erupted. A small squirrel, caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, let out a frantic, high-pitched squeak. The branch hit the ground with a dull, sickening thud, pinning the creature against the damp earth. The forest went still again, but the silence was different now. It was charged with fear. Bubo looked down, his amber eyes wide. The time for watching was over. Bubo did not hesitate. He pushed off the branch, his wings snapping open to catch the air. He dove, a silent shadow cutting through the dark, his eyes locked on the trapped creature. He landed with a heavy thud, his talons sinking into the soft soil beside the splintered wood. The squirrel was thrashing, its small chest heaving in frantic, rhythmic gasps. Bubo stepped forward, his beak working with precision to wedge under the thickest part of the branch. He braced his feet, muscles coiled beneath his skin. He pushed. The wood did not move. He grunted, a low, guttural sound, and shoved again with every ounce of his strength. The branch groaned, shifting an inch, then two. He felt the weight pressing back, resisting, but he dug his talons deeper into the earth. With a final, explosive surge of effort, he leveraged the timber upward. The squirrel scrambled free, panting and wide-eyed, its fur matted with dirt. It stood for a moment, trembling, then looked up at Bubo. "You saved me!" Bubo blinked, his large eyes softening as the adrenaline faded. He looked at his own wings, then back at the small creature. I did," he replied, his voice barely a whisper. The following night, Bubo sat on his branch, expecting the usual silence. Instead, he heard the rustle of dry leaves. The squirrel returned, followed by another, and then a third. By the end of the week, the base of Bubo's tree had become a meeting place. Rabbits sat at a respectful distance, deer stood near the trunk, and morning birds lingered long past their usual bedtime. Bubo looked down at the gathering, his head tilting in confusion. The squirrel stepped forward, its tail twitching. "You helped me. We wanted to make sure you were not lonely anymore." Bubo felt a warmth spread through his feathers. A rabbit nodded. "You are actually quite kind." A deer stepped closer, and not as scary as we thought. The squirrel chuckled. Well, maybe a little scary. The forest erupted in laughter. From that night on, the owl became the forest guardian. He shared tales of the stars while the others listened. He was no longer a ghost in the dark, but the heart of the woods.